ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన NSR ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి జేఈఈ అయినా నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ NSR ఇంపల్స్.
So students, let us continue with the flower. For the last one we discussed about the merosity. Now let us continue with the merosity and the symmetry of the flower. Flower is divisible into three parts: actinomorphic, zygomorphic and asymmetric or irregular flower. So further let us continue here. Now when you make the asymmetric, actinomorphic and irregular, you can take that flower contains altogether 4 parts. What are the 4 parts we can take? Again I am writing calyx, corolla, androecium, and then we have gynoecium. So guys, calyx is also called as sepals, corolla is also called as petals, androecium also called as stamens. Now gynoecium also called as pistil, or we call this one as what? Carpel. Right. So when we study the flower, generally if you look at, now let us see arrangement of all 4 floral parts. What we are discussing here now, we are going to study about arrangement of 4 floral parts. 4 floral parts on flower. Now in these 4 floral parts, we have to take any one as an indication to classify the types. So we are just looking for arrangement of 4 floral parts. In that mainly we are taking into consideration of gynoecium. Mainly we take into consideration of what is called gynoecium. The position of gynoecium vary, it shows many variations. The position of gynoecium is different in different type of flowers. So what is the important thing we are going to study now? Now classification of flowers. Classification of flowers based on position of gynoecium on thalamus. Based on position of gynoecium where? On thalamus. What we are trying to discuss here, we are just going to classification of flowers, and this classification of flowers is very important. See here 3 star marks, that says the concept is very important. Now if you look at the classification of flowers based on what? Out of the 4 floral parts when we take gynoecium, it is very important. Gynoecium is a place where ovary develops into seeds, fruits, and flower develops into fruit finally. Okay, that part we will discuss later. So generally based on where the position of gynoecium, where gynoecium is located, based on the position of gynoecium on the thalamus, the flowers are classified into 3 types. They are very important. Let us write these 3 types. So I am just writing 3 types here. So let me put it up so that I will get space to write everything. I hope you understood what we are discussing now based on the position of gynoecium on thalamus. So let us make it, write everything as a heading because I need more space down, so I am erasing. So what we are discussing, again I am writing classification of flowers. Here based on what? Based on position of gynoecium on thalamus. Very important. So it is represented with 3 star marks. Wherever you keep 3 star marks, very important. In that, what is very important? We are looking for where gynoecium is located. We are looking for position of gynoecium. Now it is further divided into how many types? It's divided into how many types? It's divided into 3 types. Okay. Let us take a horizontal page and let us divide them into 3 categories. The concept is very important. Final NEET, we have a question from this classification. Most of the times we get the question from this. So, we get a question in the final NEET paper. Let us concentrate on all the 3 types. What are they? Let us take the first category as hypogynous flower, or it is also called as superior ovary. Very important. Okay, hypogynous term is important. Remember, it is also called as superior ovary. Even this terminology is also important. Hypogynous flower is also called as superior ovary. Why do you talk about ovary? Gynoecium is also. What is gynoecium? Now, if you look at the gynoecium part, if you look at, I am drawing gynoecium here. So, this is gynoecium. What do you find in gynoecium? We will talk about gynoecium later, right? And when we talk about the flower completely, at that time we will talk about gynoecium. So, if you look at gynoecium, generally you know in lower classes you studied, right. So, when you take this is nothing but gynoecium. The part where pollen grain falls is called stigma, and long tubular structure it's called as style. At the base what we find it's called ovary. So, you already know, we will discuss again gynoecium in continuation of the flower. At the base if you look at, now we find what is called center is called placenta. Now, this is what is called as placenta. On either side of placenta we find what are called ovules, right. What you find in the center, this is called placenta. On either side of placenta what you find? Ovules. These are ovules. What do you call this basal part? Ovary. So, in gynoecium mainly which part is very important? The ovary part is very important. Where the ovary is located, based on that the type of flower we classify. So, that is why it is also talked, gynoecium is also spoken in terms of ovary. That is why we say superior ovary, first category, that is why we say superior ovary, right. Now, let us go the second category. Perigynous flower, or itself is called as, either we can call half inferior or we can call this as half superior. Half inferior, or this is also called half superior ovary. Perigynous flower you can call, or you can also call this as okay. So, what I am writing here, perigynous flower, or this itself is called half inferior or half superior ovary. And let us come to the third category. Third category is referred as epigynous, or itself is called as inferior ovary. Epigynous, or itself is called as inferior ovary. Now, let us discuss all 3 categories. All 3 categories are very important. You have to remember and pay attention towards here, towards this, very important. Now, if you look at the hypogynous flower, now this hypogynous flower we find in case of, first let me give you examples. We find in mustard, China rose, that is hibiscus, as well as even we find in case of brinjal. So, you know that mustard is commonly called as, scientifically it is called brassica, China rose scientifically it is called hibiscus, you know that, right. Brinjal is called as Solanum melangina. Examples are very important. Why examples are very important? We will get it previously, we had questions in the final NEET. right. Now, where is the position of the ovary? Look at here. Now, if you take this is the thalamus, if you take this is the thalamus, at the tip of the thalamus you find there is a position of ovary. So, this is nothing but ovary. On either side of it ovules are born. This is nothing but gynecium. What you find here, it's gynecium, and this is nothing but ovary. Where the ovary is present? At the tip of the thalamus. This is thalamus. Okay, that's nothing but what? Thalamus. So, at the base of this, what you find? At the base of the ovary you find this is androecium, that's nothing but stamen, then corolla like this, then calyx, right. So, I will write the definition. Gynecium or the ovary, it is present, gynecium I am writing, gynecium or ovary, it is present at the apex or tip of thalamus. What is present? Gynecium or ovary. Try to understand gynecium or ovary. Where it is present? Gynecium or ovary present at the apex. Apex means tip. This is thalamus. This total part is thalamus. At the tip means at the apex. At the tip what is present is at the tip of thalamus. At the tip of thalamus the ovary is located. The position of ovary is at the tip of the thalamus. That is why the ovary is said to be superior ovary. Hypo means at the highest position. Hypo, why it is called as hypo? The gynecium or ovary is present at the highest position of thalamus. What is the highest position? Tip. That is why it is called hypogynous flower. Then what about other floral parts? What is this? This is nothing but what? This is nothing but stamen or androecium. And what is this? This is nothing but corolla. What is this? It is nothing but calyx. So, this all will come under what? Other floral parts. Let me write here. These three will come under what? Other floral parts. Other floral parts are present. This is for this. Are present at the base of gynecium, or that is also can be taken as apex of thalamus. You are talking about two things. We are talking about two things. One is the position of gynecium, where it is located. Where it is located? At the tip or apex of thalamus. Look at here, gynecium or ovary present at the apex or tip of thalamus. It is present exactly at the tip, right, at the apex of thalamus. If the gynecium is at the tip of thalamus, what about the other floral parts? Other floral parts are present at the base of the gynecium. What are they? Stamen is present, corolla is present, calyx is present. Where they three are present? Three are nothing but other floral parts. Other floral parts are present at the base of gynecium. Where is gynecium? This is gynecium. They are present at the base of gynecium, or can be written as apex of thalamus, at the tip of thalamus. And such type of flower is called hypogynous flower, or it is itself is called as superior ovary. Gynecium is present at the highest position, tip of thalamus. Where it is present? Examples: mustard, China rose and brinjal. So, mustard is brassica, China rose is hibiscus, brinjal is nothing but solanum melangina. Now, coming to perigynous. Perigynous is found in case of plum, peach as well as rosa indica. In these members we find generally what is called as perigynous. Okay. So, if you look at the perigynous, what is the arrangement? Look at here. So, I will draw the diagram now with the base. Look at here carefully. So, I think place won't be sufficient, 1 second. So, let me take this up to here. So, if you look at, this is nothing but thalamus, this is nothing but thalamus, it is like this. Now, it is located on the rim of the, not to be drawn so big, so you can write definition. So, here it is present on the rim of the thalamus. Okay, it is inserted, not completely, half of the. So, here you can see this is nothing but what you call placenta, then ovules are arranged, this is what is called gynecium. At the base of the gynecium, what you find, it is called as ovary. Now, if you look at, this is the surface of the thalamus, this is called as rim, rim of thalamus, that is called as rim, rim means on the surface. Now, where are the remaining floral parts are present means, they are present on the rim of thalamus. So, it is like this, right. So, do not be drawn like this, do not show like this, yeah, just show like this. All will be arising from the point, you can show like this, yes. Okay. So, now if you look at here, I am writing what is perigynous. Gynecium or the ovary is present in the middle of thalamus, and other floral parts are present on the rim of thalamus. Other floral parts are present on the rim of thalamus. What is the meaning of this? Where it is present, examples are very important, make sure that you keep 2 star marks. Gynecium or the ovary present in the middle of thalamus or inserted into the thalamus, just slightly it is inserted into the thalamus. When it is slightly inserted into the thalamus, look at the position of ovary, this is ovary, this part is ovary, this part is ovary. Now, look at the position of ovary, half of the ovary is inside the thalamus, half of the ovary is above the thalamus, outside the thalamus. That means, again I am telling, half of the ovary is slightly inserted into the thalamus, half of the ovary is slightly above to the thalamus. That is why it is called half inferior. Half inferior means half above, that is called half inferior, half above. Half superior, half thing got inserted into the thalamus, half is inside, half is outside. So, either you can call half inferior ovary or you can call this half superior ovary, half inferior ovary, half superior ovary, because half is upper side, half is downside. Then what about other floral parts? Other floral parts are present on the rim of the thalamus. What is the meaning of the rim here? Rim is nothing but this surface, this is called rim, rim of the thalamus. This is called rim, rim means surface, right. This is rim of thalamus. Other floral parts, what are other floral parts? Same, stamen, this is corolla and this is calyx. Okay, stamen, corolla, calyx. Similarly here same, this is stamen, corolla and calyx. Where they are located means on the rim of the thalamus. Such kind of arrangement of flower or the ovary is called perigynous. Peri means on, half up, up, down. That is why the position of the ovary is called. Either you can call half inferior ovary, in the question it is given. Take it granted perigynous flower, or sometimes they will give the question examples of half superior ovary. Again take it granted that is perigynous flower, And where are the examples where it is found means look for the examples in the given options, plum, peach, rosa, indica. I am telling you there are so many examples are there, but we are just going with NCERT Telugu Academy examples are well fine. So, there are some places where we need to discuss more examples beyond NCERT and Telugu Academy. Those examples I will give you, but make sure that what are the examples are there, be concerned with these examples, very important. So, wherever it is needed we go to some extra examples we will study apart from NCERT and Telugu Academy. Where it is not needed we confine our self examples to Telugu Academy and NCERT textbook, right. Now, let us go with the third category, Epigynous, or it is called inferior flower. Let me give you example here, cucumber and guava. So, you know that very well, it is nothing but CDM, cucumber as well as guava. Now, what do you find in case of Epigynous here? Now, let me draw the diagram here very clearly. Now, in this case, this is thalamus. What I am drawing is thalamus. Within that you find ovary. Now, this is what is gynoecium. Now, this is what is thalamus. Thicker one what you find, this is called as thalamus. I am drawing very clearly here, I am writing very clearly here, that is called thalamus. Inside the thalamus what is present is called ovary. Now, both of them are, I am writing here, fused. Both of them are fused. Fused means they are joined. Both of them are joined. Thalamus, ovary is fused with thalamus. Fused means joined. So, ovary is joined with thalamus. Look at here. Now, this is nothing but ovary. Inside placenta is there, arrangement of ovules are there, and rest part of this we find as usual stamens, corolla and calyx. So, here it like this. Little up you make it, that is to see gynoecium. What is the meaning of this here? Now, let me give you definition. Gynoecium or ovary inserted into thalamus, that means ovary fused with thalamus. And what about other floral parts? Other floral parts are on thalamus. I hope this is visible. This last part is visible. So, here now what you have to understand here is this is ovary part. Ovary is present within the thalamus, is completely got inserted into the thalamus. Gynoecium or ovary inserted into the thalamus. This is yes, inserted into the thalamus. So, ovary part will go completely into the thalamus. Ovary or gynoecium is completely inserted into the thalamus. Now, when it is completely inserted into the thalamus here, what about other floral parts? Other floral parts on the thalamus, and here ovary is fused with the thalamus. Both ovary and thalamus both are fused. It is completely into the thalamus. Ovary is present inside the thalamus, inserted into the thalamus. Ovary is fused with thalamus, very important. Then other floral parts are located on the thalamus. Other floral parts are present on the thalamus. Such type of arrangement is called epigynous. Position of the ovary is completely inner to the thalamus. So, this is called as what? Inferior ovary. Completely to the inner side, this is called as inferior ovary, right. So, examples, remember cucumber and guava. Guava scientifically it is called Cerium, right. Let us make it once again. Guys, you concentrate, make sure that you try to understand the definition part, that means where the gynoecium is present. Carefully observe in the diagram where we are drawing the position of ovary. Accordingly, you have to remember what type it is and try to remember even the examples. So, once again let me give you a quick revision, very important, because in the final need we get a question on this. Classification of flowers based on the position of gynoecium on thalamus. How many categories we have? 3 types. What are they? Hypogynous flower, or is also called superior ovary. Why it is called superior ovary? This is thalamus. At the tip of the thalamus, what is present is called ovary. It's above to the thalamus, that's why it's called superior ovary, upper, right? So here gynoecium. So here, where are we in the discussion? So here we say thalamus is here, ovary is here, and where are the other floral parts? Other floral parts are present. Either you can say in the statement at the base of the gynoecium, base of the ovary, or you can write other floral parts are also located at the tip of the thalamus. So look at the definition. Gynoecium or ovary present at the apex or tip of the thalamus, and other floral parts means stamens, corolla, calyx are present where? Are present at the base of the gynoecium or apex of the thalamus, at the tip or apex of the thalamus. So, if you look at the tip here present, position of the ovary is at the tip of the thalamus, that is why it is called superior ovary. Superior means at the tip of the thalamus, appears completely outer side, above to the thalamus. Okay. As it is present at the highest position of the tip, it is called hypogynous flower. Guys, examples are very important. Remember, mustard, scientific name is brassica, China rose, a scientific name is hibiscus, and brinjal, scientific name is Solanum melangina. So if you want, you can write this melangina. You all know very well, because Solanum tuberosum is nothing but potato, Solanum melangina is nothing but what? Brinjal. You know that Solanum melangina is brinjal, right? Next is perigynous flower, or it's also called half inferior or soft superior ovary. Why? Now if you look at the position of the ovary or the gynoecium is inserted in the middle of the thalamus. Half of the ovary is outer side, half of the ovary is inserted into thalamus. That's why either you can call this as half inferior ovary, you can call, or it's also called half superior ovary. Half superior means half is outer side, half inferior means half is inner side, and here as it is present in the middle of the thalamus, it's called perigynous. Perigynous means in the half. Okay, and what about other floral parts? Stamen, corolla, calyx are other floral parts. Where they are located? They are located on the surface of thalamus. The surface itself is called rim. So they are located on the rim of thalamus. The darker part is thalamus part. Darker part is surface of thalamus. Itself is called rim of thalamus. So look at the definition. Gynoecium or ovary present in the middle of the thalamus or inserted on the halfway to the thalamus. Other floral parts. What are other floral parts? Stamens, corolla, calyx are present on the rim of thalamus. Where it is present? Phloem, peach, rosa indica. So such type is called perigynous or half inferior or half superior ovary. Then epigynous or inferior ovary. So if you look at epigynous or inferior ovary here, ovaries completely got inserted into the thalamus. It is not appeared outside. It's completely inserted into the thalamus. So here what you can write? Gynoecium or ovary inserted into thalamus. Ovary wall fused with thalamus means ovary is completely fused with thalamus. Ovary, thalamus both are fused. Both are fused means both are attached to each other. This wall fuses with this. So ovary wall attached to the thalamus, both are fused, joined, right? And here other floral parts are on thalamus. See here, you can see other floral parts, stamen, corolla, calyx are on the thalamus. Such type of arrangement is called epigynous. As ovary is completely inserted into the thalamus, it's called inferior ovary. It is not visible outer to the thalamus. It's completely within the thalamus. That's why it's called inferior ovary. Where do you find such type of arrangement? We find in case of cucumber and we find in case of guava. Guava scientifically it is called as what? CDM. Right? So this is nothing but all three types. Guys, I am telling you examples are very important. Hypogynous superior ovary means mustard, China rose, brinjal. Perigynous half superior half inferior means plum, peach, rosa. Epigynous or inferior means cucumber and guava. Very important. Make sure that you practice it on the paper. So, let us go with table number 1. What is the table number 1 we are discussing? Scientific name and scientist name, no? Table number 1 is scientist name, right? So, let us write scientist name, and discovery. So, let us discuss about the scientist name. Here we can write Hatch and Slack are the 2 scientists. Along with him we can write one more scientist, Ramadas. Now, these 2 are combination of 2 scientists. Later one more scientist, Ramadas, they studied on C4 plants and they studied C4 pathway. They studied C4 pathway and they studied about what are called C4 plants. What are C4 plants we will discuss later. The first stable compound produced will have the 4 carbons it will be, that is why it is called C4 plants. Generally remember in your mind, we will discuss this later in the concepts. Generally the plants are divided into 2 categories. We call C3 plants and we call C4 plants. Guys, what are these C3 plants? What are C4 plants we will study later, but try to remember in generally if you look at plants are classified into 2 types, C3 plants, C4 plants. What is C3 plant, what is C4 plant? And C3 plant shows the pathway called C3 pathway and C4 plant shows what is called C4 pathway. Do not worry, we will discuss thoroughly very clearly about what are these pathways later. Remember, just giving the scientist name, the Hatch and Slack are the 2 scientists. They studied about C4 plants, C4 pathway, and that is the reason why this pathway is also called as Hatch-Slack pathway. C4 pathway is also called as Hatch-Slack pathway because the 2 scientists Hatch and Slack are the scientists they studied about C4 pathway, and later a C4 pathway is also studied by later in extension of the research work, later is also studied by Ramadas. So, this is the scientist name and remember the other scientists. Then Sir Hans Krebs, he is a scientist. We call Sir because he was being awarded with the Nobel Prize. Sir Hans Krebs is a scientist who has revealed the process of Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle is also called as, better write completely here, Krebs cycle, it is also referred as citric acid cycle. It has so many terminologies to remember. Even it is also called as a tricarboxylic acid cycle. So, we call this as TCA. Okay, so we say Krebs cycle, citric acid cycle, tricarboxylic acid cycle, tricarboxylic acid TCA, citric acid cycle, Krebs cycle. Right. So, Sir Hans Krebs is a scientist who studied and discovered about citric acid cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle or Krebs cycle. Remember guys, this we will discuss at the time of respiration. In respiration, one of the pathway which plays a very important role is nothing but Krebs cycle. So, guys, make sure that you remember the scientist name along with the discovery. I repeat quickly, Hatch and Slack are the 2 scientists. They studied about C4 pathway, where means in C3 plants. That is why the pathway is called Hatch and Slack pathway. Later one more scientist also contributed for Hatch and Slack. Who is he? Ramadas, remember. Then another scientist, Sir Hans Krebs, he studied about Krebs cycle, also called citric acid cycle, also referred as tricarboxylic acid cycle. Remember, we are going to discuss in this process called respiration. Very clearly remember the scientist and along with the discoveries. Now, coming to the table number 2, let us go with the scientific names. Let us study about the scientific names of the plant. Along with that, let us make a list of the common names. So, where are we here? In the discussion about the family called Liliaceae. So, we are discussing in the family Liliaceae. So, we studied and we have written already few names of the few scientific names. Let us continue further. Now, here you can write next one, Colchicum autumnale. So, write down clearly the spelling, very clearly you can have a pronunciation, Colchicum autumnale. It is commonly called as a meadow saffron. It is commonly called as meadow saffron. Now, other one is Dracena. It is called Dracena. For this the common name is a red dragon. So, try to remember the scientific names along with the common names. So, I have given two here to remember. Again, our pronunciation you just look at it here. Now, Colchicum autumnale, and we have a previous NEET question on this. Make sure that we will discuss at the time of when we discuss about Liliaceae. A previous NEET question is this. You have to remember Colchicum because very important. Previously quite a number of times we got this as a question in the final NEET. So, make sure that you remember, need to stress this point, very important, remember that. Colchicum autumnale, what is that commonly called? Meadow saffron. Similarly, next one, Dracena, it is commonly called as red dragon. So, try to remember these two. So, in the flower part we are discussing the floral parts. What we said, flower has 4 floral parts. What are the 4 floral parts? Now, again I am just making a list. What is the first one called as calyx? That is also called as sepal, and the second one is called as corolla. Itself is referred as petal. Androecium, also called as stamens. Then we find gynoecium, itself is called as pistil, or we call this as carpel. Now, let us start our discussion with the flower part. Let us discuss one after the other. So, here if you take calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, now we need to discuss in detail about each and every floral part. What is the first floral part we have to start with? Calyx. Now, let us take the first one under this. So, we have to discuss one after the other in the list. Let us start with what is the first one, it is called as calyx. Calyx also called as what? Sepals. Calyx also called as what? Sepals. Now, sepals are generally, they are green in color, green or other color, they are present in green color or other color, or sometimes colorless. Now, the function is protects the bud in young condition. They protects the bud in young condition, right. Now, apart from this, the calyx is further divided into 3 types. What are the 3 types of calyx? Based upon arrangement. Based upon what? Arrangement. Based on arrangement of sepals. Sepals itself is called as what? Calyx. Now, very clearly when you look at based upon the arrangement of sepals, they are of 3 types. What are they? We say that polysepalous, other one is called as gamosepalous, and then what we find it is called asepalous. Okay, polysepalous, gamosepalous, asepalous. What is polysepalous? Sepals are free. You can take example Annona. What is the meaning of that? Sepals are completely free. They are not attached. Sepals are completely free like this. When When sepals are free, it is called polysepalous. What is gamosepalous? Sepals are fused. Sepals are fused. You can take example Datura. Means here sepals are fused. One is attached to other. They are fused. Asepalous means sepals are absent. Sepals are absent. You can take example lily. That's it. What is the meaning of this? Poly, whenever you get poly, don't take it as many. Poly means free. Polysepalous means sepals are free. Example, Annona. Gamo means, remember, gamo means they are fused, joined, united. All sepals are united. Sepals are fused. Example is Datura. And then asepalous means sepals are totally absent. You can take example lily. So, this is nothing but types of sepals, or we find calyx.